Hey, what's up and hello. This is the Chris Nicole bringing you my views on life, love, and the world of entertainment through my eyes. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on what time you are watching this live. Hello, crew. Hope all is well. Make sure you hit the like button on the way in. So, you guys, when I tell you there has been so much going on in this world, hell, in the United States alone, there has just been so much. And I've told you guys that I feel like there's spiritual warfare, there's dark energy all around. Like it is getting like scary at this point. And now potentially we have what could be another Ted Bundy on the loose in the New England area. Okay. For those who don't know who Ted Bundy is, I suggest you look him up. There are plenty of documentaries on him. But I just never thought in a million years potentially there could be another situation like a Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer, especially when we are dealing with so much technology. There's almost like cameras everywhere that you would think would be virtually impossible. But what triggered me was I ended up seeing this picture of this girl, 21 years old, who actually was just recently found. She was the last one that was actually found. She was found June 1st, and her name is Adriana Suanzo. I'm hoping I'm saying her name correctly. I'm not trying to disrespect this girl. You guys know I butcher names. But she was just recently found. Beautiful little girl. And I'd say little girl respectfully, because I mean, at the end of the day, you know, she could easily be my child. I would have been young, but she could have been my child. She was just found June 1st. In the woods of Milton, Massachusetts. It's a suburb that's like 8 miles out of Boston. It remains like unclear what happened to her. They say her body shows no signs of trauma. But the problem is that she marks the 13th body that has shown up with little to no explanation in the Northeast region this year. This year, okay? This year, 2025. 13 bodies, and she's the last one, June 1st. Okay. Of course, her family wants answers, but they don't have anything. But the problem is they don't have anything for a lot of what's going on. Like they can't find anything. What they're trying to see though is this possibly a pattern based off of the information they have. Now, one thing I will say is when they're doing like a heavy investigation like this, they're not going to give the public too much information. But the mere fact that they are actually trying to show like or put out there it could be an SK tells me that somewhere they're seeing that there's some type of pattern. There's some type of pattern with, you know, of course, the psychological aspect of it. You know, we have people who deal with this type of stuff all the time. So I feel like they may know something that is making them say that. But with that being said, the problem is that most of the bodies are mostly women, which is why I said Ted Bundy, because Ted Bundy, pretty much all of his, you know, victims were women. And they're pretty much stretching out from Massachusetts to Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Maine since March. Okay. With most turning up in a wooded area or remote area. Okay. So I think that pattern in itself is what's causing them, probably amongst other things, for them to say that, you know, yes, this could potentially be a SK involved. Now they're saying the causes of the D, if you know what I mean, vary. They have some who actually have been, and you guys, let me just tell you right now, trigger warning, okay? Because I'm not going to give like too much gruesome details, but at the same time, this may kind of make you guys feel uncomfortable. But they have some of it being varied from a grisly like dismemberment, to, pretty much, like, there's been multiple reasons. Not to mention they found remains and they don't know the names of those people. They're just finding body parts. Okay, so this is when I say this is getting crazy. This is getting crazy. They're actually labeling this right now the New England serial killer. Okay, SK. So with that, it's scary. It's really scary. And we have so much going on right now. I don't know how many people are really talking about this, that how serious this is. But with everything, with the riots going on to, so much other stuff going on, I think a lot of people are just kind of like, what else is there? Like, that's just how much nonsense we have going on in this world today, especially in the US. Now, with that being said, the first victim, actually, her name was Paige Fannin, and she was found in Connecticut on March 6th. Okay. Now, on the same day, they ended up finding a human skull that was actually discovered in Plymouth, Massachusetts. All right. Now, I have a picture of Paige. So then that way, we can put a name to a face, because these women definitely need to be remembered and definitely need to be honored. This is, from my understanding, Paige. Okay. So she was the first one who was found. Then days later, a dismembered body of 58-year-old Suzanne Wormser was found in a suitcase in Groton, Connecticut. Now, Wormser's roommate was arrested, but apparently he passed while in custody, which is weird in itself, but apparently passed. I don't know if they actually said that roommate was the one who did it, but at the same time, yeah. But again, even in these type of situations, if there is a SK involved, you always have people who like to be copycats, or it just so happens that something ends up happening to someone else and it has nothing to do with the other cases. All right. So with that was actually the next lady who actually passed. Now, with that, we also after that have Denise Leary. Now I'm going to show you Denise Leary. And she actually, if I'm not mistaken, was a mother of two. Okay, she was a mother of two. This is Denise Leary, 59 years old. Paige was 35. Denise Leary's 59, was found on March 25th in New Haven, Connecticut. Okay, and literally the next day in Rhode Island, 56-year-old Michelle Romano, which is here, was found the next day in Rhode Island. Okay, so they're finding these bodies back to back. And they also said, again, these bodies were found March. Some were found in April. Before the girl that I just told you about, the younger girl who was 21 years old, she actually is the last one, but they do mention some other women named Jasmine Wilkes or Wilkes, if I'm not mistaken, that's the name, was found May 30th in New Haven Park. Of course, they're saying that, look, we just want closure. We want to know what happened. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. They have no answers to what happened to Adriana or any of these women. What I do know is, based on my research, is that this lady right here, Michelle, she had been missing since April, if I'm not mistaken, of 2024. She was literally like missing since August of 2024. And then they just found her literally in March of this year. So this is scary. This is definitely scary. As far as some people, they don't even know the names. They don't know the names of who they are. They don't know anything. They just know that they have skulls and body parts. You know what I mean? Which is just scary in itself, because of course you have people missing all the time. And unless they have dental records or something else, they probably won't be able to find anything, because at this point, no telling how long they have been out there. Of course, they have a GoFundMe page, if I'm not mistaken, for Adriana. Again, you guys can definitely go look for that yourself. Y'all know how sometimes I feel about GoFundMe pages, but I just want it to be known that they do have a GoFundMe page for the baby girl. But yeah, they found other bodies as well, but they just couldn't identify them. They could not identify them at all whatsoever. Now, the sister says the last time she spoke to Adriana was on May 29th. They found her June 1st. So that's a quick turnaround. Okay. They found her 11:45 a.m. Sunday, June 1st. She said, her sister said the last time she spoke to her was May 29th. That's a quick turnaround. So while these other women seem to have been missing, some of them for a while, they found Adriana within a couple of days. So somewhere between May 29th and literally June 1st, something happened to her. But they literally can't say they're not going to probably tell us what the similarities are. If they feel like they're dealing with an SK, they're probably not going to tell us the similarities besides them being in the woods, because they don't probably want to spook that person and see that they're on to them. None of that. And I'm shocked, but then again, that's just how the news is that, they're talking about it could potentially be a SK, because if it is, then, I'm sure that in itself is spooking that person out, if it is just the responsibility of one person. But there was 6 people remains found. 6 people. In April alone, it looks like. This is insane. This is insane. There is no known threat to the public at this time. Of course, the police is going to say that because they want to make sure people don't freak out. Pretty much they're saying if authorities have know anything to please let them know. But this is insane. And I wanted to definitely bring this up and we can continue the conversation. But the fact that they're saying there's a possible SK on the loose in that region sparks a lot of concern. 13 found just in this year. And literally they're saying that her passing they can't explain what happened to her. They can't explain it. So let me just show you guys the map. This is the map of pretty much what's going on. So like literally you have a couple marches, April, like they're all scattered within that region. All of them are scattered within that region. And this is also like specifically the actual names of the locations: Springfield, Rocky Hill, New Haven, Norwalk. That's where they're finding all of them. So it's very easy, if it is a SK, for them to just be going up and down those highways. And of course, a lot of those places going up and down those highways, you have a lot of woods and you have a lot of places that you can unfortunately dump bodies. So this is why, and it almost looks like a pattern. I'm gonna be honest. It looks like a pattern. It looks like something where I can see why maybe they're now saying it's a SK situation, but they're going to have to be very cautious. They're not going to give us that much information on it. But yeah, they said mostly there were women that were found, which tells me maybe some of the remains they think are male, which they can, of course, do testing on that. But again, that doesn't mean that if there is an SK involved, those males have anything to do with the SK. But yeah, you guys, this is insane. Beautiful little girl. All of these women just gone. And no one's life, whether they're 56, 59, 35, or 21, should be taken so senselessly. But I think it catch my attention because they just said 21-year-old body has been found and a potential SK on the loose. And y'all know how I am about true crime. I was like, what the heck? Like, where the hell have I been where I haven't heard about this? But because she's probably the youngest, and the fact that it just recently happened, and it was such a quick turnaround. To actually, from the May 29th, when her sister actually spoke to her, to June 1st. And you know what that may have something to do with, honestly? Make sure you guys hit the like button. That may have something to do with the fact that she is so young. She was able, and her family was able to spread out like a social media frenzy because of it. That could have been the reason too, that whoever possibly had her panicked because information about her spread like wildfire, which is why it was probably a situation where they were able to find her quicker than these other women. Because like I said, one of the women, they said she had been missing since August of 2024. But again, not saying that someone in their 50s or someone, 35 especially, because of course that's, I'm sure she definitely knows about social media, probably has social media pages, but something about this new generation, they know how to get the buzz going ASAP. They know how to. So it could have been that that person panicked quicker than normal and decided, unfortunately, to just try to hurry up and handle the situation as soon as possible. Because again, it wasn't even a good, 48 hours maybe? She said May 29th. So yeah, June 1st, maybe, in the morning, June 1st. So yeah, that could have been the reason. That really could have been a reason that she had a social media presence, and her sister and her friends, followers, whoever the case may be, started putting her picture out there saying she was missing, and it started spreading like wildfire. And the next thing you know, that person was like, okay, this is a little bit too much of a hassle. You know what I mean? And I hate to say it like that, but you hear stories like that they would rather, SKs or whoever the case may be, would rather have someone that doesn't have people who are going to immediately react to it and immediately, respond, that type of thing. Because again, I hadn't even heard about Michelle Romano, and I understand I don't live in that region, but I mean, at a certain point, we need to have more of a database and more people really putting out alerts about missing people. Just like things pop up as far as advertisement on our social media. Y'all know how it is on our social media. Advertisements pop up left and right. You can be talking to someone on the phone, then all of a sudden you go on your social media and that same thing you was talking about is advertised. Why can't missing people be advertised? Why can't missing people be advertised? There should be something that immediately goes out. You know what I'm saying? Like they do the Amber Alerts. There should be something that immediately goes out no matter what age, gender, race, whatever the case may be. It goes out. We should have billboards, or like even in Times Square, definitely should have things like that out immediately. Immediately. You know what I mean? But I don't know. It just seems like for us to have so much technology, we're still so far behind. Does that make sense? Because again, I would have never thought they could even consider an SK at this point in 2025. At this point, they should have enough technology where they can zoom in the woods, or probably have cameras in the woods. And you constantly hear about these drones and stuff like that. These drones would be in the woods somewhere. So the fact that they're talking about potentially it could be a SK in 2025, that's a little scary. Because the Ted Bundys and the Jeffrey Dahmers and stuff could get away with that type of stuff easier back then, because of course we don't have the tech. They didn't have the technology. They barely, had the news media coverage that could spread like wildfire all throughout the nation. It was much easier to do that back then. Today, how was it even possible? How is it even possible? But I guess when you really think about it, just like people get smarter with technology and social media and everything else, I guess the SK can get smarter with that too, right? That they can get smarter with it too. But this is unfortunate, very unfortunate that this is going on. I definitely want to actually stay in the loop with this, because I'm really curious at this point. The FBI should be involved. I haven't even seen anything about them saying that the FBI should be involved at this point. So I'll say this: if the FBI, or I should say the Alphabet Crew, even though people assume what the Alphabet Crew is, if they're not involved yet, then maybe, just maybe, they haven't put the pieces together yet to assume it's a SK and it's just a headline. because of actual Facebook groups that are being created to actually see what's going on with all of these missing women and these 13 bodies found. But based on what I have seen, I have not seen anything about the Alphabet crew coming about this. We see the local police, the Norwalk police, Rhode Island State Police. We see all of them as far as them talking about it in the media, in the news. But I haven't seen nothing about the F, the B, and the I. So I would say this: once we have heard that they're involved, I think we got our answer. I think we got our answer. If they get involved and all of a sudden you start seeing them actually having their media representative talking, yeah, I think so. I think we will definitely have our answer at that point. But the fact that there's no obvious signs of trauma also is very scary for me. And that is with Adriana. They said that there was no trauma. So I'm like, what could have happened? That means there's no wounds, there's no pokey, there's none of that. That in itself, that's scary. That is scary. So, but yeah, we're gonna have to continue to look at this, but it's definitely one of those things. It says New England beach towns police dimming a pattern, but locals are okay. So yeah, it's at this point, it's just the local police. Now, the local police looks like they're trying to deny what the public is speculating about an SK. But the police going to deny it. The police going to deny it. I mean, that's just what they're going to do because they don't want people to panic. They don't want people to panic and freak out. But yeah, so at this point, it looks like they have been getting actually GoFundMe, like I said, going, and they've raised like over $9,000 and trying to reach a goal of $11,000 for the funeral costs. But yeah, the investigation is ongoing, you guys. What do you guys think about this? Do you think it's an SK? Do you think it's the actual SK? Yeah. Oh, I think I answered your question. The clown, no, that was the guy in Chicago. That's not, but he was another SK too. Ted Bundy, look him up. He has a Netflix documentary. Ted Bundy was pretty much on the West Coast. He dealt with like the Washington area, Washington State, Oregon. I don't think he eventually got to California, but when he realized he was on the run in Washington and Oregon, when they started kind of like tracking him down, he ended up leaving and he ended up going to Florida. I think he was all over the place. I know he started in Washington and Oregon. I believe he also was in Colorado. They literally thought this man was charming. He was in freaking law school at one point, and they even had him in prison at one point, and he escaped. And when he escaped, I believe, if I remember the story correctly, he ended up going to Florida and ended up getting into a sorority house and ended up unaliving even more women. So literally, when I tell you it's given Ted Bundy, if there is a SK, it's given Ted Bundy. That one I will highly recommend. Like Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer, the reason why I will put them hand in hand is because they had a gender preference. Jeffrey Dahmer, all men, and then Ted Bundy, all women. So yeah, you guys. So I just cannot believe that we're dealing with this, but I'm looking at this beautiful girl. I'm looking at these women. This is a sad situation, and prayers to the family. Prayers to the family. This is insane. Insane. Okay. She had children. I don't know if Michelle had children, but the reality is children or not, they have family, that they have people who love them. And the reality is I do feel like we really need to have some type of system to really get on things ASAP when it comes to people who are missing. Like, we don't have enough technology to make someone uncomfortable if something like this happened, especially with all of the human tea going on. There should be some type of massive alert, not just the little loud alert that we get on our phones, but to where people's faces are plastered all over the place. car tags and everything are plastered all over the place to where it will make people feel uncomfortable. Make people feel uncomfortable to even want to do this at this point. I mean, you always gonna have sick people everywhere, which, by the way, I'm definitely gonna talk about that. I don't even know if I should talk about, you know what? I may do another live right after this really quick, or I'll talk about it tomorrow with all of that nonsense going on in Las Vegas. Um, let me see. You was in the elevator with Dahmer before he was caught. How old were you back then? That was like the 80s. You actually remember seeing him, or someone told you that? He lived in a building with your family? Wow. Wow. So you were visiting family there? Are you talking about Jeffrey Dahmer that lived in Milwaukee, right? Is that what you're saying? That's insane. That is insane. Wow. That kind of caught me off guard. I'm trying to figure out if you like remembered seeing him, but you probably didn't, of course, because at the time you didn't really know who he was. Because he wasn't caught yet. If he was still going up and down the elevator, I didn't even know they even had an elevator in that shithole apartments that they had. Because they were talking about that those apartments were like shithole apartments or something like that. Didn't they say? Wait a minute. Which are you okay? Because he apparently moved around before. Are you talking about the actual apartments where they said the stench of those bodies was coming out of? You talking about those apartments? Because those were considered low-income apartments. I didn't even know they had elevators in those apartments. They had elevators in those apartments? Because they ended up tearing those apartments down. Wow. Okay. Well, they had elevators in those apartments, because I could have sworn, but then again, when they, of course, gave us the movie, the actual fictional movie, still based on a true story, I don't remember them having an elevator in there. They made it seem like they had to go up and down those stairs. Yeah, and no disrespect to, you know what I'm saying, like you said your family was in there, but I remember watching the documentary and even watching the movie, they were making it seem like that it was a very like it was like, you have a roof over your head, but it's not the best circumstances type of thing. Because of the fact that it was, really cheap rent, or whatever. But even with it being kind of like a crappy apartment, they said, especially those who were on that floor, and I even think they said even above him or under him started smelling that stench. Yeah, they tore it down. They tore it down, and rightfully so. Like, after all of that stuff happened in those apartments, like, why would you even want to have those apartments still up? Why would you even want people to live in there? Like, hell no. Like, that type of energy, not interested. But yeah, you guys, let's continue the conversation below in regards to this very sad situation. But it was a project. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. I didn't want to say project because I don't know. Some places consider certain things a project, some don't. But I know that in a documentary, one of his neighbors was talking about how it was a very low income apartment. He even said, though, him living across from Jeffrey Dahmer, he asked Jeffrey Dahmer for money to buy a gift for his sister's wedding. And Jeffrey Dahmer gave him some money for his sister's wedding to buy her something. So they completely thrown off, which, interesting enough, that's why the next live, you got to be careful of people who just so-called appear normal, because you just never know what people are involved in, what people are willing to do. I am hoping in this situation with the 13 bodies found that there is some footage somewhere capturing some of these women. Like, I really do. It's just, you just need one situation where, and I'm hoping this young girl, Adriana, was probably somewhere where she was captured on some type of footage, a camera light or something. We got it, because this is ridiculous at this point. And yeah, I definitely feel like the three letters need to get involved. The three letters need to get involved with what's going on in the New England area. But yes, let's continue the conversation. So yeah, it looks like, okay, so you guys saying, some saying yes, some saying no. Some saying yes, some saying no when it comes to if y'all think one person is involved. I don't know. I don't know. But what I do know is 13 bodies this year alone. That's insane. That's insane. But I keep telling you guys, things are getting worse and worse. People don't care about humanity anymore. They just don't. Like, it's always kind of been that way, but I feel like it's on steroids at this point. That life and, respecting each other, things like that, it does not matter to people, a lot of people anymore. It just doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. So this is why you kind of got to protect yourself. Stay out of the nonsense, which I think I am about to do this live really quick and we gonna talk about it. But with that being said, let's continue the conversation about this case, you guys. Very serious. Rest in peace to all of these women. And I hope we get justice before the year is out. Hell, before the summer is out. I will hope that the pressure is on at this point for all of these states: Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine. I would hope the pressure is on all of them at this point. Because at this, I definitely, and then up summertime too, Martha's Vineyard and all of them places, like, they may, lose. Well, I don't know. Martha's Vineyard people be acting like they can be untouchable out there, but hey, I don't believe anybody can be touched. So, but I'm sure in those areas, people are going to be very hesitant and be very caught off guard to hear that 13 bodies was found in those areas within the past literally 6 months. But with that being said, you guys, please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you on my next video.